Welcome back. We've got another Springfield here to take a look at that comes in a nice case. This is the Not Legal in California. No, just kidding. I grew up in California, and ever since leaving there, stickers like these remind me of what freedom is. This is the XDe 3.3 inch 9mm. Coming up next on GBGuns. Show you the packaging that comes with the guns in these tabletop reviews, and I gotta say this one is impressive. So it is incredibly pry resistant. It has locking holes. This is a usable, I'd say, dare say that airlines would approve. You could fly with this case. Very nicely done case. We open up the gun. We've got a presentation here. It comes with an 8-round mag with the finger rest and an extended magazine with a finger rest. This is a 9-rounder. There's a gun. We get a spot of some Lucas oil, some replacement fiber optic in different colors for our front sight, a brush and gun lock as required, as well as a flush magazine base plate in case you want to swap out that finger rest for a flush one to make the gun even more concealable. Take a look up top. Behind this wall, we have an envelope. Bring that out. Specific to the XDe. And inside there, our manual, safety warning, Lucas oil, and Springfield information. We'll take a look at the manual and see what they went with. Looks like they used real photos, nicely labeled. Gray, red, and white. Got instructions on replacing the fiber optic, instructions on field stripping. Nice clear photos with arrows highlighting what you're supposed to be looking at. You know, it's easy for those of us that have been around a lot of firearms to laugh at stuff like that, but when you haven't, and you're new to it, some of those manuals can be incredibly frustrating. So props to Springfield for making sure that stuff was labeled in their XDe manual. Get the case out of the way and take a look at the gun. So the XDe piqued my interest when it came out. Of course, show clear before we start playing with it. This is our loaded chamber indicator that pops up to be visible and tactile when the chamber is loaded. Wanted to get my hands on one of these because one of my first carry guns was this XDS in 45. This is before the 9mm version came out, before the 4-inch version, before all that. This is one of the earlier ones, and really enjoyed the gun. The only reason why I moved on from it was I moved to prefer 9mm over 45, but this was still a great gun. So when I saw the XDe come out with a hammer, which means you've got that awesome hammer-fired trigger, potentially, we'll get to that, and the ability to do single action or decock and have double action, or more importantly, single action with a second strike capability in case the round didn't go off yet, that excited me. So that's why we're taking a look at this gun. We'll stick with our normal protocol though and start off at the front and walk around the gun. Nice squared off front end there with a little bit of beveling. A little bit of side-to-side wiggle, not a whole lot. We can see obviously that we have a fiber optic front sight there. Our sight picture, get the hammer out of the way, is the 2 white dots in the rear and the fiber optic front. Really brings your eye up there, and of course if you want to change that, it's easy enough. You've got spare fiber optic tube in the case and instructions on how to do it. We have a single slot here for round mounting a laser or light. Some dimpling on the front of the trigger guard for those of you that like to have that trigger guard grip. I did notice though, and maybe this is being a bit nitpicky, but this line here doesn't quite line up. It's like the slide needs to be back a little bit. Just a slight deal, but not too huge of a deal. We have a metal trigger that is curved nicely and a nice relief here for the middle finger for larger handed guys like myself to be able to wrap around. Magazine release is ambidextrous, true ambidextrous, not ambi-capable, as in you don't have to swap anything, you can use either hand. I really enjoyed that on the XDS and my XDM because I can just punch it out with my middle finger like that. And as you can see, this ejects. That's not a magazine release, it's a magazine ejection. I appreciate that because it helps get mags out in case there's anything gritty. This, though this nice smooth stainless is probably unlikely to have any problems in there. We've got a finger bump, but not necessarily a deep groove, which I appreciate, and that's also textured. Our magazine release button or ejection does protrude a little bit from the side, but is shielded by this bump here, and we have a cut in so your thumb has a place to rest without resting on that button, risking an accidental mag drop. Got the same reach over here for left-handed shooters or for your trigger finger. Controls are pretty easily reached. I do have some messed up thumbs, so sorry if I can't decock that, but I can definitely put the safety on and off easy enough and get to the slide release / slide lock. Looking underneath, we've got a little flare, the magazine well there to make insertion rapid. Oh, short stroked it. It's my first time handling this gun. Coming around the back, we have some friction points here. This does not have the interchangeable back straps like was on the XDS's. And then looking at our slide to frame fit in the back, a little bit of wiggle. Nothing too terrible. Hopefully that has nothing to do with accuracy. Interesting stamping there of XDE on the hammer itself. And then coming around the other side of the gun, our safety decocker is available for left-handeds, and the magazine release is right there ready for them as well. So true ambi gun that's ready to rock. The only thing missing is your slide lock / release, but a lot of folks don't necessarily use that depending on your school of thought. That's the subject of another video. Now as far as that trigger, I'm going to zoom in and we'll take a look at what this is like in single action. We come back to a wall, a little bit of creep, nice clean break with a little bit of over travel there available for you finger mashers or in a defensive use like this gun is meant for. That gives you a little bit of slow down time so you're not jerking the gun too much. A reset, up quite a bit, takes you in front of the wall so you come back to it again and then fire. And I find that to be very appropriate for a carry gun. Now some people like to get a little crazy and think that every gun should have a competition ready trigger. I can tell you as someone who's been shot at and shot back at people, you do not want that. A trigger like this will help you make sure that your shots happen only when they're supposed to, and that you conserve ammo, which is important with an 8-round or 9-rounder or in a civilian setting where your liability potential is huge. So good job Springfield on making that a sensible trigger. The double action pretty much rolls through. There was no noticeable stacking. Weight remained consistent. It is indeed a heavy pull, but I don't mind that because really you can get through that. Watch somebody like Dan the Firearm Guy and you can see double action shot plenty quick. So no worries about that. Next we'll field strip this and take a look inside the XDE. So field stripping the XDE is fairly simple. We're going to drop our magazine, make sure the firearm is cleared, lock the slide back, and bring this lever up 90 degrees. Feel kind of a click there. Release the slide and it comes right off without the need to pull the trigger. Kind of an additional layer of safety there. Taking a look inside the frame, you can see we've got a metal insert, plenty of rail space there. Nice assist to the feed ramp that is polished. Everything looks very clean in there. Almost looks like this was made on a brand new die. Considering the XDE has been out for a little bit, that's impressive. Good job Springfield on your quality control there. We pull out our recoil spring. We can see a dual spring that is captured. That's great for not having to worry about losing springs. The dual spring setup is a progressive rate, which I appreciate. Helps take some of the bark out of the shot. And then getting our barrel out is easy enough. Take a look inside our slide. Nice and cleanly done. We can see we've had some extra weight removed there. And there is our trigger safety. Nice broad extractor. If I can get the light on there for you. Taking a look at our barrel, we have a very broad feed ramp that is polished. We'll check for chamber fit, as always, using our nozzler match. Those of you who haven't seen any of our videos before, we use the nozzler match because we can trust that it is to spec. And we can see we don't have 100% chamber support. So that means you might want to be cautious with reloads or cheaper ammo. If you're going to have a failure, it's going to be blowing out that end. But we don't ever use reloads, so that's not a concern for us. Get this gun back together. Now when we get it out to the range, we'll be running the What's for Dinner test with 65 grain all the way up to 158 grain. Steel case, aluminum case. Whoops, let's make sure that's rolled back up. Of course, standard brass and the nickel plated stuff, hollow points, full metal jacket, everything to see what this gun will run and what it won't. We've got a 3.3 inch barrel, not a lot of room to generate some energy for cycling the gun, but and that slide is very easy to rack once that hammer's back. We run that test just to see what the gun will run and won't run. My knuckle bumped the magazine release there just now. As far as hand fit, despite it being so slim, the length of pull is a little short for me. You can see that my finger comes to the first joint if I'm sloppy about it. Of course, anyone can learn to shoot with their finger in the right spot. That is in the center of the pad there on a gun, just as far as what instinctively fits. But that length of pull being a little short for me is a good indicator for everyone with medium or smaller hands. With the extension on here, I can get all three fingers on there for a nice firm grip. With that rest, I can still get all three fingers on there. So I can get a whole hand grip on what is really effectively a small frame pistol. With the old XDS 45, I was looking at 2. Gosh, this frame feels different after handling the new one. I can see the improvements and the reason why people have been excited about this newer style of frame. So that's the XDE. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comments below, and we'll get this out to the range soon. We'll see you there and let you know what we think. Thanks for watching.